I know commonly when we think of extortion, we think of this sort of mafia type figure who sort of goes to the local businesses and, you're going to pay me money or we're going to shut you down or injure you. And that's an obvious example. But what about blackmail? Are there other instances, sort of more subtle instances of extortion?
Well, there is, Neil. And what I tell people when they ask me questions about extortion, or if I'm asked to speak to a group about extortion, I tell them basically think about anybody trying to obtain tangible property from a person, whether it be money or a vehicle, by saying they're going to do something, some act of violence against a person, some act of violence against their business, or reveal private facts, embarrassing facts. And I think that's the really best way to think about extortion. A lot of people think about the Black Hand, the Mafia, and the Godfather and things like that. But the truth is, oftentimes people try to gain an advantage over other folks by, especially in light of the social media today, and embarrassing facts coming out, and then people trying to use that to gain an advantage financially over other folks. And that's what we're really seeing a lot of now.
So if I found out you were having an affair and I threatened that I was going to expose that unless you paid me money, so to blackmail, traditional blackmail, that would be extortion. That would be a crime.
Absolutely, that would be extortion, and absolutely that would be a crime.
Let me ask you, I also get calls from people who say, I'm being blackmailed. There's somebody who has some embarrassing facts about me, and they're threatening me that they're going to reveal it unless I pay them or do something that they want me to. What advice would you give that person? I mean, would you try to record the conversation? Would you go to the police? Would you just pay him the money? What would you suggest?
Well, there are several things a person could do under that circumstance. If someone reaches out to me as a lawyer about that type of situation, one of the first things I would tell them that we could independently help them by conducting our own investigation through a state licensed private investigator. We could send a cease and desist letter, for example, to the person that's doing this. Or we could help be a conduit to law enforcement so that the person who's committing this crime against the person that's calling us can have sort of this protection, knowing that we're there as they tell the story to law enforcement. Law enforcement will then set up their investigation in a way that our client is protected, but also gathering evidence against the other party.
So if you're being threatened or blackmailed, your advice, contact an attorney. There's a lot of things that can be done.
I do, and I'll tell you why. Because not that law enforcement potentially in a situation like that would want to reveal private information about someone, but oftentimes police officers do investigation, and it doesn't mean that much to them. It's something that they're doing today and not tomorrow. When you hire a lawyer to assist you in something like that, you're hiring someone whose duty it is, whose obligation is to protect you, and maybe mitigate some of these embarrassing facts and stop them from getting into the public forum. Because ultimately, during the course of the investigation, it could become public if the person was arrested and prosecuted. So oftentimes, it's almost better to allow a lawyer to handle that for you so that embarrassing private fact can remain that simply a private fact. I'm Mike Scaffidi, a retired police officer and now a criminal defense attorney with Schaus Law Group. If you or a loved one are in trouble and need help, call me.